I revisited the patents by Stanley Meyer, the guy that ran his car on water. We have been deceived. The hydrogen was just the first step in the real research he was killed for, which is cold fusion. I've researched and done real experiments in all fields of historical unity history. That kind of stuff, and 9/11 is what got me into the conspiracy community. I made hydrogen fuel cells and played with a hydrogen torch for a while years ago. To run a tiny HHO-pan torch would run a car battery dead in about 10 minutes. That is a huge amount of energy. My fuel cell wasn't really optimized, but wasn't the worst. Fun fact, no matter how good you think you built the flashback suppressor or the HHO torch, once your battery got to low and the HHO output slowed too much, it would flash back and make the box your fuel cell is in explode like a bomb. Fun times. So to get to the point, fast forward almost a decade later, I taught myself electronics, analog circuits, and digital to where I literally can build anything sold from scratch, and have built all kinds of shit. And I have lately really been getting into the fundamentals and material science, which has to do with the molecular alignment of a substance to affect its electrical characteristics. All matter can be thought of as a bunch of tiny bar magnets held together by multiple resonances. This background is basically me trying to say I really do know what I'm talking about, and on a deep fundamental level, uninhibited by the compartmentalization limits people who are taught these fields in schools are stuck in. So I ran into one of my old fuel cells in a drawer, and it got me back thinking of HHO production. I went over Meyer's patents again now, with an actual understanding of electronics that I did not have years ago when I did my experiments. I went of the circuit pictured in this patent and its explanation. People on YouTube talk a lot about it, but don't really understand it. At Meyer, I was playing with it on a circuit simulator program, fully intending to build it and try it. I hand-wound some coils and everything. The HHO fuel cell electrically is just a large electrolytic capacitor that you want to overcharge. But Meyer said the choke coil next to fuel cell was in resonance with it. But all resonant inductor capacitor circuits have to be AC, and he says the fuel cell capacitor must stay in DC polarity. So that didn't make sense. Plus, it is obvious the circuit is really just a boost converter circuit, which just pump up the HHO cell's voltage until it reaches the point of conduction. His design acts just like how a Geiger tube works, charged with voltage capacitance just to the point before conduction, and then just a little more to push it over the edge, but not enough for it to stay shorted out. The radiation pushes the Geiger tube over the edge. This causes a discharge for a second, but the gases inside quench it so it doesn't stay connected. This is all exactly how a lightning strike works. If a lightning strike were not self-quenched, but stayed conducted to the ground, the whole ionosphere would be fully discharged to nothing. So understanding this quenching concept is important. His design utilizes all the same concepts and the Townsend discharge, which creates a little extra energy from the cascade and particle collisions called secondary emissions. The part of pushing it over the edge but limiting the energy with a choke coil so it self-quenches the discharge while staying still close to charge. To the breakdown point is what Meyer was really talking about when he said the choke was in resonance with the fuel cell's positive plate. This was the complicated part to understanding what he was saying. Fundamentally, the overcharge and quenching can be compared to a relaxation oscillator. If you understand how these work, then you will understand the concept of how Meyer's fuel cell works, which should be the most efficient way to produce HHO, mainly using electrostatic capacitance instead of brute force current amperage. E289 3MC3 BCL LER tube. The cold fusion part Meyer's patents cover all kinds of stuff, with the fuel cell involved, but not being the central point of it all. He talks of taking the HHO produced and using a magnetic field to polarize it, then shooting it through a donut-shaped particle accelerator and coils on the donut to extract energy from the accelerator and then used to power the whole process. I'm running out of time and need to leave for work. I guess I'll make this a two-parter, or maybe just discuss further in these comments with those that are interested. I would like to fully explain fusion and the details, and dig up the link where a guy shows video of the piles of particle accelerators at Meyer's house. But the fundamental thing is the separated HHO are two opposites in molecular polarity. Hydrogen is electrically positive and oxygen is negative, meaning they can be manipulated with magnetic fields. He was using the same concepts as a tokamak fusion reactor, but instead of using plasma temperature polarized material to shoot around the donut-shaped particle accelerator and crash into each other for fusion, he used the HHO with no superheating. Laws of nature typically work on multiple spectrums. He was just using the same concept of a tokamak reactor, but on a lower spectrum that can be considered cold. So cold fusion. Full list of Meyer's patents. The particle accelerator is hard to conceptualize because of his 2D drawing. Later, when I find the video back, you'll see it is a donut-shaped tube with coils wrapped around to foot or less in diameter at Meyer, and familiarize yourself with the concepts of a tokamak reactor. And we'll all discuss cold fusion and overthrowing the oil companies when I get off work late tonight. Part 2. Sorry, but after spending a good amount of time on part 2, I accidentally hit the Windows key and Control or something like that, and it all disappeared. This is the video with pics and video of Meyer's particle accelerators. It's a long video, but worth watching it all. The guy that does the video discusses them and how Meyer said they work and how he thought they did. He compared the patent drawings to actual pictures of the different accelerator design and really gets into it. But if you just want to see them, the still pictures are at about 14 minutes in, and the video taken in Meyer's garage shortly after his death that show piles of accelerators is at about 32 minutes in. I really don't know too much on accelerators and fusion except what Wikipedia says. HHO is very similar to plasma, and chemical bonds are very similar to fusion. It's just on a different spectrum. Nature and its laws does things like a fractal. Higher knowledge is always hidden by compartmentalization and false limits. Nuclear is one of those subjects I have spent time researching and came to the conclusion they are not being fully truthful. But you never truly know anything unless you personally learn from experimentation. But I am 100% sure about what I said about how Meyer's HHO cell works. I figured the details of that out the night before I made this post. I abandoned following the circuit in the patent because I realized the fuel cell construction would make a big difference. And also I can do it better with more adjustability using modern circuit design and a microcontroller. I've got the circuit planned out and my hose sitting in distilled water, but I ended up working on a motorcycle instead. I can get the circuit put together maybe even this morning, but it's going to take some time testing, figuring out the best arrangement and distance. Apart from the plates and some other variables, I have the flat plate style hose cell. I'm confident Meyer's method is the most efficient way possible, but I'm not sure what that means as far as output versus power used, or what that really means in the real world. Apparently it produces fast enough to run a small car engine on demand. That alone would be awesome.